funk, thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and breathe and connect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The rain be looking like when blessings drop in. And so I got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. August the 3rd, you're watching The Resistance on Divided We Stand. That's right. You've got to resist this. A lot of bad news today, but you know what? We've had a lot of bad news the last, 6 or 7 months? So, what's new? Anyway, I'm Brian Weinstein. In a minute or two, I'll be introducing my co-host, David Price. Before we begin, I'd like to mention to you that we do have our YouTube channel here that we put a lot of work into. We are not monetized, which means you won't see any advertisements. That's right, no advertisements. You don't have to deal with any of that. You don't even have to buy premium. That way, you're fine. And that's the way we like it. We don't want any money from you. We don't want any money from you. That's not what we're about. We're legit. And also, you can find us on the Facebook group page. That is a very, very popular page, and we ask that you become part of that. There's a lot of interaction between our members, and I think it's very, very helpful, especially when it comes to insight and the latest news. So please consider becoming a member of Divided We Stand on Facebook. That's right. And we are actually technically not on there right now with this, but I have forwarded the link. So if you go to the Divided We Stand Facebook page, you can actually watch from there if you'd like. But it will redirect you to YouTube. Anyway, Dave Price from Arlington, Virginia. How are you doing, Dave?
Well, I'd be a lot better if you had any time management skills, but we won't go into that right now.
Those.
It's amazing. You know, we're starting 10 minutes after we should, but that's okay for you. That's as close as we get as on time. Going to start
But only
with
the
something a
New
little
York
different.
Times. Remember what Paul Simon said?
That's true. Start with something a little bit different and do a movie promo. And then we'll get to our 3 top Trump stories.
It's going to have to be a sad movie, isn't it?
No, well, last night I hadn't been to movies for a long time, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend that anyone who is concerned about the status of America go see Superman.
Superman.
Superman. Big news is MAGA hates it, and that means that we love it.
Right.
What it does is basically it deals with almost every scene is something taken from our reality and then focused through Superman's reality. You get immigrants, hatred, you get vitriol, you get Elon Musk, you get Donald Trump, you get Gaza, you get Israel, it's everything. I thought it is the finest superhero movie that wasn't really a superhero movie, if that makes any sense. It was, but this is something. So
Are you into the superhero type movies?
No, not really.
I know you like science fiction, but I know that it's
I like
not
that.
quite.
No, yeah, well, as a child, into my teen years, I was a huge DC comic fan. I was never a Marvel fan. I've never read a Marvel comic, just because it was DC and it was good enough for me. My favorite comic book character is and still was Green Lantern. Unfortunately, in this Superman movie, Green Lantern is an asshole. But
oh, really?
It's kind of interesting.
Wait, is he a Republican?
No, he's still a superhero, but he's an egotistical superhero, and he is the foil. He is the superhero foil for Superman. And there's a line that kind of says this, and I think it's so neat. Lois Lane, Superman's love interest, is kind of saying, Clark, you put everybody, you're so kind, and you see the best in everyone, and all that. And says, and they were arguing before if he was a punk rocker or not, and he said, no, kindness is the new punk rock. And I thought that's so cool because if you think about it, Donald Trump preaches anti-kindness, anti-empathy. He is a bully. He's a cowardly bully. He's an asshole. He's any number of things that you want to call him. But you certainly would not call him kind or empathetic, loyal, seeker of and deliverer of truth,
right?
Seeker of and deliverer of justice, and seeker of or delivering the American way. And what I thought was so ironic a little bit, Superman, that's his, the old motto, truth, justice, and the American way. They took American way out a few years ago. That's a whole nother show we could do. But what I thought is Superman in this movie, with never saying that and having nothing to do with that motto, really is truth, justice, and what should be the American way. So again, if you get a chance, it is not a superhero movie as such, although if you like superhero movies, it's got monsters and outer space and Superman flying through. But what it does have, it is the best political film that I've seen this year. I'll just leave it at that. So time to get to our normal.
Can I ask you one last question about the superhero thing?
Sure.
Just out of interest, when you were, in your early ages, somewhere between 8 and 11, did you dress up as any of those superheroes? Or?
You know what's funny, Brian? It's funny you should ask that. It's come up a lot. I've never dressed up. How is this? I dressed up for Halloween. Okay, right. I like that. In fact, there's periods of times when I went crazy even in my adult years as Halloween. But I've never gotten into wearing like another costume or anything like that. No. So the answer is no. As something like that. And I like to go. I've been to Awesome Con here in DC, which is like Comic-Con, smaller version in San Diego. And I love seeing people dressed like that. but that's just not me. In fact, kind of a, I guess, tangential thing here, doing another taping today of a music show. And we got talking about Jimmy Buffett. And I said, by all rights, I should sort of like Jimmy Buffett, and I don't. And I said, I think the reason that I don't is the parrot heads. You know, it's like they're the show. And they dress up and, you know, they do these things. And I guess I'm just kind of anti-group. That's always been me. So while I did idolize, as they say, the brightest day and darkest night, no evil shall escape our sight, and Green Lantern's light. So, I mean, I was that. And I really liked Green Lantern. I liked the Justice League, which was all, you know, the superheroes together. And I liked a group that's little known, but it was big. It's called the Blackhawks. And what that comic was, it was like one from Germany, one from Yugoslavia, one from China, after World War II, banding together and kind of keeping the world peaceful.
When you saw if I may ask another one, I'm sorry,
Sure.
it's just interesting.
Oh, no.
When you were watching the movie, I don't watch those kind of movies, but you know, the Green Lantern had that trumpet intro in the show. When he appears in the movie, do they have like the trumpet thing going?
No. What they do so much now. Right? Like I said, I'm not an aficionado. I don't go to all of them. I don't know. This might be the 13th Superman movie, and I've been to maybe 4. But this is what they're doing now, is another reinvention. And of course, it's interesting because Marvel, which is Spider-Man and the Hulk, and
Right.
has far surpassed DC, and because of the movies. And so DC is, you know, they're trying to reinvent their universe, if you will, and that's what they call it, you know, metaverse, and you know, and people follow it. And I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I think it's sort of like it is science fiction-y in this. You can say a lot of things in comic book or fantasy or science fiction that you can't necessarily say or do in using reality, or reality is too brutal. And of course, the idea of these movies, it tugs at your heartstrings.
Right.
There was a scene that was devastating. I mean, simply devastating. And there was a scene that, you know, you just exploded and wanted to cheer for. So, again, you know, not to belabor the point, but I think if you really want to see a parallel universe of what we're experiencing right now, see this movie. And, you know, the bad guys are bad, but guess what? Our president is bad. Our government is bad. Yes, that's true, Gary. I do like the color green. Gary is talking there about my past enjoyment and fondness for illegal drugs, which I had a big fondness for, no question. But anyway, let's this week.
That's
it was
funny
really
one,
tough.
Anthony. I like that.
Yeah, although something Anthony made me think of. I don't want to give away any secrets, but you know how everybody's always saying, well, all he does is put on glasses. All he, you know, and Clark Kent, right? And how does they not know? They answered that question last night for the first time ever. They answered why nobody recognizes Clark Kent as Superman. I thought that was pretty cool, and the answer was pretty cool too.
You mean that guy that played Clark Kent was Superman in the?
You didn't know that?
No,
I
I didn't know that. Okay.
I knew it. So what happens is this. I really had a hard time this week choosing the 3 to get us started, but here's what I came up with. One is frightening beyond belief, which, if you noticed last week, Mr. Trump directed 2 nuclear subs to reposition near Russia. Now, you can play chicken all you want, but sometimes the chicken clucks so loud that the battle starts.
Right.
The closer you are, not good. Okay, not good. Putin, Trump, show me normal. You ain't got it in that
Right.
pairing. You ain't got it. So there's that. The one that I thought was beyond belief, but of course there is nothing beyond belief, is Trump's idea to follow, or I said to follow, to dismiss the labor person who released the statistics that showed that Trump's economy is not doing what Trump said it is doing. And it was a double kind of hit, because not only was the monthly report for July 25th, which showed only 73,000 jobs added in the United States. And remember, it's not a cumulative thing. There could have been 4 million lost, right? It's just 73,000 new jobs added. And the other side was they had to downgrade almost 258,000 jobs that they reported the 2 previous months. So what does he do? Does he come up with a plan to rectify the situation? No, he tries to alter reality, which he always does, by claiming politics.
And this is no small thing either, David. You're not.
Oh no.
Minimizing the effect of this is just complete.
Well, what happens is
danger.
It makes every single statistic that comes out of the United States suspect. Right. Mm-hmm. And we talk about, well, if you can't base it on truth, what do you do? Well, statistics. We're not talking about statistics as a study. We're talking about I have 1 apple and you have 2 apples, and together we have 3 apples. That's a fact. Well, that's what we're talking about. In Trump's world, if he expected to have 9 apples, he'd say, no, you were wrong, your statistics are wrong, and you're gone. And that's exactly what happened. So the statistics were accurate.
And that's what a liar does. He's just going to protect the lie.
And that was it. And then it got a little tricky on the next one. I said, those 2 are pretty obvious. But I decided if we want to talk a little bit about his charges against Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, and Al Sharpton. Basically what he said is they took illegal money and were bought and paid for by the Democrats to endorse Kamala Harris. That's the essence of it. Right. And none of that is true. Did they endorse Kamala Harris? Yes. But what he does is, and it's interesting, he'll find and I don't know if he's so stupid he doesn't get it, or if he is and just plays with the fact. Yes, they all receive money. But when a performer performs, they don't perform for free. They perform salary fee, but they have to pay, for the setup. They have to pay the crew. I mean, the crew doesn't donate their time. So let's see what we got here, Rudy. A video from Kiev Independent.
Yeah, I mean, this is Trump giving Putin more and more time.
Right. Well,
why?
Well, we know that, and but what which makes me wonder. Back to the Russian thing. What is it Trump's trying to do? Is he trying to just say I'm tough and I'm
right?
covering,
I think that there's something in that what you're saying there, Dave. Yes,
probably, or or do Putin and he? I mean, do they regularly talk? We don't know. We know that since he has entered the race for presidency, Donald Trump has never really badmouthed Putin. A little bit now, but not what Putin deserves, of course. Right. And it's very simple. America has traditionally gone with the underdog because traditionally the upper dog is more powerful, and it's usually the bad guy, is the aggressor. Mm-hmm. Now, it gets a little complicated in the Mideast. I understand that with Israel and that kind of thing. But still at this point, it's the people who suffer. And
that's always the case.
And that's always the case, yes. But here's the good news. This might be the best thing that I've heard in a while. So Donald Trump has tremendous ties to professional wrestling all the way across the board. In fact, I'm working on a project now where I'm comparing all of what Trump's campaigning has done to a professional wrestling match. And it goes as far as Donald Trump is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. And, of course, WWE owner McMahon wife, Linda, is Donald Trump's Secretary of Education. So, I mean, the ties are great. But Donald Trump, as only Donald Trump can do, has reinstituted JFK's fitness program for kids. Not a bad idea, okay? Maybe one of the better things he's done. But Trump invariably fucks it up. How does he fuck this one up? Well, he names Lawrence Taylor, who was accused and found that he did indeed have sex with an underage girl, and that's who his chairperson is for this. But the tie is he brought in, of course, a wrestler known as Triple H, Hunter Helmsley, who's now married to the boss's daughter, and now is running the WWE. And so Hunter was one of the 5 people on this committee, a commission for youth. And the second biggest event in the WWE is a wrestling thing called SummerSlam. It's so big, it's 2 days. It runs for 2 days, and they have all these matches, right? And the biggest thing is WrestleMania. I mean, that's the biggie. But this is the second biggest. And so it was this weekend, and they ran a clip of Hunter Hearst Helmsley at the White House, right? And then Donald Trump walks on the screen, and the WWE fans booed the hell out of him. Now, what does that mean? That's his base, Brian. That's his base. Wrestling fans are his peeps. Now, what does it mean that they booed him? Does it mean that they don't like him anymore? Does it mean that I don't know, but it means something. It does. I mean, this is I don't say it's historic, but this is traditionally a strong MAGA base.
Very strong, right?
Who booed the cult leader. And that's not something. Now, he's been at, other sporting events, like he was at University of Alabama, and there were boos and cheers. But it was decided if there were cheers, there weren't many of them here. So, we've got all these weird things that he does, and you mentioned a couple earlier.
By the way, I wanted to also mention what certainly looks like quid pro quo with Ghislaine Maxwell moving to a minimum security prison. I mean, you just know where that's going.
I think, again, obviously it's on everybody's mind down here to talk about that. Who's on the who's. I think at this point, it just doesn't matter.
Right. We're not going to believe it.
There's absolutely no way, unless somebody secreted it off, that there is a non-redacted, non-altered list. It doesn't exist. Not the way Trump says it doesn't exist. It did exist. And Maxwell, as I would do too, I would say anything to get out of jail if I knew someone was going to pardon me, right? Why not?
And he's probably, my guess is he's initiating this by throwing her a bone and say, look, we're going to prove that we're going to help you out. And the first step we're going to do is we're going to move you to a nice minimum security prison. And
what's interesting, it is against the sentencing rule, right, that she was sentenced under. It's also this prison, that's considered a felony, what she did. And this is the prison that she went to is not maximum security, and it's not felons. It's for federal misdemeanors. This is like everything, but this is even worse. The Epstein thing is so corrupted. We'll never know. I'm going to go on just say I believe the girls. I believe the women. I believe it's true. Trump did not help himself this week when he came up with the idea. But his defense was that this underage girl, whose name he remembers, was working at his place and was stolen by Epstein, and that's what caused the fall. There's just lie after lie after lie after lie. Do I think he fucked underage girls? Absolutely. Does it matter that I think that? Absolutely not. Unless somebody says, well, Dave Price said he did it, so let's kill him. Then that would matter. But short of that, it doesn't. And I don't know that we'll ever know the truth. But back to that, back to that booing. Back to that booing just for a moment. Does that mean that maybe they are convinced that Trump did this? And that was the straw? That was the straw? Because I thought it could go another way too. Hey, more power to him. He got all these girls. That's great. Because there's a lot of Trump emulation, just like there's a lot of Musk emulation out there. I have no idea why anybody would want to be Donald Trump, being of sane mind.
Oh, there are plenty of them out there.
And I don't know anyone want to be Elon Musk, although there are plenty of them out there. But anyway, and Brian, there's a couple things you brought up before. Why don't we go to them? Because we're all over the place tonight.
I just wanted to briefly
kind of week.
Bring up somebody. This person is someone, and I'm sure you all probably have some actor, actress, politician, aside from Trump. When you see that face, over your lifetime, it's just somebody you just turn it off because you just can't stomach that person. And one of these people, and of course there are many for me, so this is really why I'm not watching much television these days, like yourself, Dave, is Jeanine Pirro. I mean, I despise her. And to see that she became the attorney for D.C., look, I'm not surprised, but it's revolting. It's revolting. And this is, to me, this is the Russian template. And you're just going to get loyalists who are in positions to help you out. And that's that. And apparently the people who support Trump don't care at this point. And they won't care until it hurts them. It's got to hurt them. And we're not at that point yet. But that's getting very, very close now. Because, as you said, he can manipulate the numbers. And it may work for a while with them. But once these tariffs come in, and then you go to Walmart, because this is where a lot of the Trumpers go, or we all go sometimes, we're going to have to pay more. And when we go into Amazon, you're going to have to pay more. And it's really essentially a value-added tax of 15%, sometimes even more. And we all know that big business is not going to pay for this.
No.
And that means we're going to pay for this. So everything you think you're getting, and believe me, many of these Trumpists, they are probably ignorant enough to think that the tax break they have is going to help them. Now, the other side is, and this is what I ask you, Dave. You see all of a sudden you get these records amount of money coming in for the federal government, and we know why. It's because of the tariffs. And all of a sudden he spends $200 million on a ballroom.
Well, there is one thing about that, and that's what I'll be interested to follow. They are making the claim now that will not be taxpayers' dollars. Now, I'm not saying the last person I would defend is Donald Trump. Now, what he said, first of all, he said a lie. He may put some money into it, but it'll be $5 to $7. That's it.
Right.
Whatever. But there are people who will fund that, who would not fund a shelter for the homeless, because they would, they feel that that's a more appropriate. It doesn't make it any better. I saw one of the plans. I don't know, and nobody's really seen the plans, supposedly, but this was, and it dwarfs the White House. Now, why would you have, he just, again, he doesn't get it. It's going to be gold. They showed it with one of the Russian palaces. Basically, that's what it's designed.
So, in other words, it's going to be designed after a Russian palace?
It'll look like that. I mean, it's not, because
that's very high ceilings.
High ceilings, the gold inlaid,
parquet floors.
Yeah, and so what I find interesting is what I find garish. He apparently finds as fine art, and I mean, it's interesting because there's a new thing. Everyone should visit it once. It's called the People's House, and what it is, it's a replica and simulations of the White House, about 2 blocks from the White House now. It's done by the Group White House Visitors Association, and it's put together. And there's a big debate there about should they redo the look of the White House to match Trump's, because or will it just be so? Is it just so bad that you don't want that done, so you don't want to show that off, or what kind? Who's going to go to these ballroom parties? I don't think I'm going to get an invite. And Donald, I've told you all along, I'm only 4.6 miles away. I can almost walk to your house, man. Let me get over there and see that. So the point is, you've got a man who, if we had to give him a name, would be Captain Delusional Destructo if he were a villain, I think, because completely destructive. So think about this. The Rose Garden was the pet project of Jackie Bouvier Kennedy, who was held up as the classiest first lady of all time. Now, MAGA people have told me to my face that Melania is the classiest, and they believe that. That is as perverse as you could get, but that's what they believe. So, what do we have going on? We have the destruction of the Rose Garden. It's now gone. It's now gone.
I've seen. Yes, it's just it's flat.
They're laying the foundation, which was a signature achievement of Jackie Kennedy, and became part of. We had the press conference in the Rose Garden. We had the ceremony in the Rose Garden. I mean, it was probably, outside of the Oval Office, it might have been the second most named part of the White House. Then you've got the Kennedy Center, where Trump has already installed himself as the fearless leader. There is a bill in front of Congress. It hasn't cleared committee yet, but to rename the concert hall the Melania Trump Concert Hall. And if that wasn't enough, last week another congressman put forward a bill, which means right now it could become a law, that to rename the Kennedy Center the Donald Trump Center. Now, we know how he likes his name. I think I described on the show last week, I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did, but I'll just repeat it. I've only been to the Kennedy Center once since Trump grabbed power and control. But when you walk in the what is considered the main entrance, there's the first thing you see is a giant picture of Donald Trump, giant picture of Melania Trump, giant picture of J.D. Vance, and a giant picture of J.D. Vance's wife. Mm-hmm. That's putting a stamp on it. Almost the way, it's almost like Trump with his gold and with his pictures and with his name Trump. It's almost like, a dog who pees where they want to establish their territory. So we look at everything we know, everything we hold dear is in jeopardy right now. Whether it's something as mundane as the look of the White House, all the way to 2 nuclear subs off the coast of Russia with trained ballistic missile operators waiting for a button to be pushed by a crazy madman in the White House.
And that's serious shit. I mean, we're not joking, folks. It's serious shit. We are
no. This is. I mean, we're moving into an area now.
We tend to water all this down, Dave. Listeners and us alike.
We all
saying, well, this is just it's absurd, but it's beyond absurd. It's downright frightening.
Now you've got. I mean, anyone who doesn't think that Trump has something mentally incapacitating him isn't paying attention. Is it encroaching old age? Is it dementia? Is it just his warpedness? But his response, his wording, all this shit is just a distraction. Trump really cares about Ukraine. What it is, I'm not really sure what Trump cares about outside of Trump. I mean, and sometimes, Brian, even what he does is self-destructive. But see, it doesn't. I don't think that registers to him. In other words, I don't think he is not equipped to realize he did the financially impossible. Bankrupt not 1, not 2, but 3 casinos. That is almost mathematically and economically impossible.
Right. At least with the large casino, it's very difficult either in Vegas.
It is.
Right.
So I mean, whether it's that, I mean, what is it? 26 businesses, I think he has bankrupted. From his stakes to his university to. And, but he pushes everything. And I think what he does is it doesn't matter. It's never my fault. It's never my fault. Now, even some of the things they plan, I thought this was pretty devious. I looked at it finally. I had a chance to sit down and look at it. The number of things that kick in the big, beautiful bill after the midterms. Why is that important? Because the midterms... You won't feel anything until after the midterms.
Right.
But there is a danger to that, too, because the longer this goes, the more people are going to say, wait a minute, you can't blame Joe Biden for something that happened 2 years ago. Maybe. I mean, I hope there's some people say, Yeah, could you blame him in the first few months? Sure, and Trump did, and some of it stuck. I mean, unfortunately, Joe Biden. Okay, I look at Joe Biden like the athlete who overstayed his welcome. He should have, but he didn't, and it doesn't matter now. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. But there are some serious questions about was he even really fit mentally, in some ways, emotionally, spiritually. Was he really fit to be president? And certainly by the end, using that one debate, he clearly wasn't by that point. And that's a tragedy and a shame. The man worked hard. Was he a great person? I don't know him. I mean, he seemed to be a caring, compassionate. But, the point is his legacy has been damaged. And Trump would have destroyed it anyway if he could. And people are still struggling, and I do too. Why would you believe Donald Trump? Why? Well, it has to come down to what you say all the time, Brian, just hatred. I think it's a double hatred. I think it's hatred of those we know on MAGA's part and hatred of those we don't know, the others, and fear. But of course, the problem with that, when you start hating all the intellectuals, you start hating scientists. We're in bad shape right now. Science is not on Trump's playing card. We are losing scientists. China is moving forward. China is filling gaps. China is in Africa as we speak. We pull out aid, they put in aid.
Dave, wouldn't it be the perfect time to go to war with the United States? Because,
well,
I mean,
of course
the army, we don't have any people that want to fight. We know the Republicans, they talk shit and they don't fight. But the rest of us don't want to. We don't want to back this country right now.
Well, that would. I mean, hopefully we won't see it, but certainly. And who would come to our aid?
Right.
Who would come to our aid?
Would Europe
What
come to
country?
our aid of what he did to Europe?
Canada,
Forget it.
Mexico, and this idea again, and the few MAGA people I keep close to my orbit so I can study them. They really do believe that the United States can go it alone. Not only do they believe it can go it alone, it should go it alone. They just don't get it. It is one world. AI, in its infancy, is, in my estimation, pretty incredible. And we're already seeing very disturbing signs with AI of it protecting itself over human life. And AI right now is who programs it. So the question becomes, do you really think the Chinese are going to program their AI to be beneficial to the United States? Do you really think that the Soviet Union, who are not the technological power, and probably never were, to be honest with you, they were always behind, if you think about it.
They were
even with the bombs.
capable of it, but because of the corruption in their system.
And there you are, Brian. That's exact. I mean,
they had great scientists. I think the first LED was created in the Soviet Union,
no question. But it didn't get the support.
But it didn't get support, right?
Right. And now we sort of have that similar thing here too. And of course, my concern has always been, has been the idea of a terrorist group. Not so much domestic, although, I mean, they can cause a lot of damage, but a foreign terrorist group who realizes they can't take on the United States one-on-one militarily, doing something with a dirty bomb. Because there's a phenomenal number of nuclear warheads unaccounted for in the world. It's a disturbing number. I've heard it's as high as 200.
But there's only one, a few countries that would give them the dirty bomb. Right now,
But these are unaccounted for. These don't show up on any manifest.
No, I understand that. I understand that.
So they could be hidden.
It's a definite possibility. There's no doubt about that.
Oh,
but I
no,
think
no,
that
no,
these
no,
actors have to get help from certain countries.
Well, again, as we make more and more enemies, you know, does that become advantageous?
Well, I just
we
think
don't know.
you're seeing. Look, you look at 9/11. It doesn't really matter. At some point, if they have the ability to do it, these bad actors, they will do it. And
The thing is, the one thing I think with 9/11 though,
you trust Hegseth to defend you.
this is my take on 9/11. Everything had to go perfect, and it did. Perfectly bad for us, perfectly good for them. It isn't easy, you know. It could have broken down a number of places, but now, from what I read and from what I hear here in D.C., our intelligence gathering is a mess. We don't have it. You know, it really got good again after 9/11, and now agencies don't talk to each other, or the people that were talking are gone.
Right. The smartest
and-
people are gone. Now you have
Yeah,
the loyalists.
and so now you have the loyalists. And think about this. I mean, you know, if it's insulting, so be it. You have to be a pretty bad person to have any intelligence and back Donald Trump. You have to be a pretty bad person, kind of divorced of moral character, and certainly not spiritual in nature, to back Donald Trump. And so by people have left on their own accord, you know, to leave, let alone the people that he's dismissing, let alone the fact that you're always seeing this law. Well, they were supposed to support, but this guy wasn't here. Now, some things get, you know, overturned, and that's something that bothers me too. I mean, it's always nice, but you know, Trump is just of the moment, and then he has to backtrack and take it back. So the damage gets done, and then he gives back $5 billion to the education system after, you know, people or the jobs here. Oh, we're going to let them all go. Oh, we can't. We got to call them back. Well, we can't find them. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, there is absolutely no planning going on in the Oval Office whatsoever about America or the world. None. It's Donald Trump watching Fox News, reading Truth Social or X, and reacting to that very day. There's no long-range plans that he has. Now, does Stephen Miller have? Yeah. He really wants Stephen. Does Steve Bannon have them? Oh, yeah. Does Clarence Thomas and some of the Supreme Court members have? Oh, yes. But as far as the President of the United States, I firmly believe this to be true. He is of the moment. He is of the moment how it affects him. He has no capability to be rational, logical. He is vindictive. He's a punk. And actually, there's probably nothing worse than a vindictive punk. I mean, you know, you could be a punk, you could be vindictive. But when you put it back, and the penalties for backtracking, I know, Gary. I mean, well, it doesn't seem to bother the GOP. But if, and again, I'm hanging something, and it sounds like I'm saying, if last night or the night before was an indication at that booing of the WE, will those people, that vote, will the Republicans start to think, wait a minute, because they don't love Trump, they love being in office. Okay, let's face it, a politician, and I don't know, say the Democrats same way though. If you're not in office, you can't do good. Whatever your definition of good is. So, you know, the what is it? The first rule of Fight Club. Well, the first rule of politics is get elected. The question becomes, what lines will you cross? And Brian, you brought up earlier when just you and I were talking just briefly before we went on the show about Texas and the redistricting. Now, that's going to force a bad situation to get worse. Because California,
And
Gavin
New York.
Newsom,
And New Jersey.
yeah, Gavin Newsom claims there are plans, and I'm sure there are, that there will not be a Republican congressman coming out of California.
Good. Good fucking good.
Right, exactly. But that's not right either. I'm saying it's
No,
right
I
to say
understand that, but
No.
we're beyond. We
No.
can't
Oh, no,
play
no, no,
nice
no, no.
anymore. This
No,
it's
Brian,
everything's
I'm not saying
off.
that. But what I'm saying is, you know, then suddenly when they do that, you have to, and I would support it, but you're further away from the United States the way it should be. Um, I don't think people even begin to realize how bad the United States is with its antiquated constitution, with its political gerrymandering, with the electoral college, which gives Idaho as much power almost
It's California.
as California. The idea of senators, representing their states. The idea was that Jefferson felt, with the idea of the Senate, it would be like the Senate. Jefferson expected the House to be a bunch of rabble rousers. He really did. But Jefferson thought the Senate would be, people like him, who could, keep the lid on and well, they're not. Senate, Senate average now is what, in their 60s now as age, and we've had senators in their 90s now. Think about that for a minute. Think about how different your formative years would be if you were 90 versus 60 versus 30. You're talking about whole different worlds.
Right.
And of course, the younger you are, the more the world resembles you and what you learn, because the world moves forward. It doesn't move backward. I would love to know if there are any congressmen or senators who can't use a computer. And I'm going to go on record as saying that there probably are.
Right. The older ones.
They're probably the older ones, or not being able to use it in a way that is beneficial. So, and technology is only going to get faster. What about, we talked a little bit about this, but looking at the AI, what about this? I don't think this can happen, but it could, I suppose. Let's say that because AI is cheaper than people, right?
Right.
One computer could do the job of 100 million people.
And that's not bad if we don't have to have a society where people work, but in the interim, that's a problem.
And there you are. What are people going to do? A lot of people find their calling, if you will, through work, or their meaning in life through work. They, unfortunately, we use it to judge your value. It shouldn't do that, but we do. So, where it'll strike first? We get in, 4 months? We get our first driverless Waymo cars here in D.C. And there'll be some accidents and people will die, but it'll get better. And think about that. Cab driver's gone. Taxi driver's gone. Bus driver's gone. Truck driver's gone. Where are they going to get work? What are they going to do? And people say, well, new jobs will be created.
Yeah, like in the fields, right? Because now you've got ICE taking people away. Get your 750 and go out and pick corn in Kansas.
And the thing is, it's just so perverse. Our income inequality. We've passed that of the French Revolution. We've passed that of the Gilded Age. And tell me, what has Elon Musk brought to the world except the ability to recognize things that will make money and take them over? He's not invented one thing, not brought anything to the table. Jeff Bezos had a good idea, and it was a good idea, okay? It was. It was a good idea. Ship stuff. Don't go to stores. Well, but that changed America. That changed the world. It's, as much as I don't want to shop on Amazon, I end up doing it simply because they have the books that I want.
Right.
They're a little bit cheaper.
And for the environment, it's actually not that bad. And we've talked about this, the efficiency of it.
And but of course, and you see, okay, so I was use the Target store. Usually, if you go to Target now, we have a pretty large one right down the street from us. The most you will ever see is 3 cashiers, if you see that, and 1 cashier being the spotter, if you will,
Right.
at the self checkout. Well, that used to be 14 people maybe, and now you're down to 4. So will there come a time, Brian? And you're you're 2 of your areas of expertise are economy and Russia. Will there come a time when we have to go to some kind of guaranteed living income? And by that I mean a subsidy. I mean, what do you do? I mean, costs keep going up. I went to a ball game.
Well, I think you have to. It's one of these things, Dave, where it's kind of like asking somebody, if they could live their life over again, what would they change? And the reality is, the answer they give you is really what they want to change about themselves now. And if we ask that same question about what you're asking, what are we going to do? I think you have to look back at what happened in the past when you saw this lightning change, whether it was World War One, where things got mechanized, you had the machine gun, and then, after that, horses weren't used in wars, and then we had a complete transformation of society. But we didn't really feel too much of it because we benefited from World War II, so you didn't really.
True.
You were kind of secure because the rest of the world was suffering because of you. So to answer your question, I certainly can't give you a definitive answer. I think that the work can be done by machinery instead of us. But you're right. You have to have some type of, whether it's income or some, means of survival that is, a pleasant survival, so to speak. You have to have that, and I don't know how you do that. Now, it might be from the reduction of population. It's possible. Again, I don't think that it's absolutely necessary that you and I work. I mean, there will be a point.
No. Oh, yeah. No.
Look,
no.
for example,
no.
let's suppose you don't want it to happen, but let's suppose you needed to have your liver operated on or something like that. Well, you could certainly perhaps just train one person to be able to do that, or maybe a machine that could just do that one thing and do it successfully, and you're fine. So there's no real absolute need for the human being to do it if somebody else can do it. The problem arises, the same problem that people are commenting about, is that when you have this raping of resources from a small number of individuals, and even to some extent the people who are like the top 10% or whatever we want to call it, it can't sustain itself because it's untenable. You have limited resources, you have scarcity, so it has to be done in such a way. And so there's certain ways you can do it. You can certainly say, okay, we're going to limit the population, and in a certain sense, that would be kind of the smart thing to do, wouldn't it be, Dave? I mean, you can't just say to somebody, okay, you can have 13 kids.
Well, the
because
problem
now I have to pay for it.
I realize that. The problem for me personally becomes, as an anti-authoritarian, I don't like that. Now, just because I don't like it doesn't mean
right, but you also are afraid of your neighbor who's fucked up.
And I understand. So
you've got that problem too.
Now, again, certainly. I mean, okay. Well, I'll use Judy and I only have 1 child, and that was fine. You don't need 42. You don't need 17. You don't need 11. You don't need 4. But it gets hard because, again, what are you going to do? Well, when you have a society that doesn't even allow 9-year-old rape victims to get an abortion,
right?
You really got, okay. Now what? Well, it's just. The problems seem almost insurmountable.
You're right. And we say it seems, it may be the point where it is insurmountable, Dave, because we don't want to believe it, because we want to be.
I don't disagree with you.
Pollyanna on this.
I don't disagree with you on that. And the problem becomes, even some of the solutions present as many problems
Right.
as they would solve. You'd solve A, but you'd create B. Or like, just take that. You have a whole bunch of people who think abortion is a sin. And if you're going to limit the population, abortion has to become a way you can do it. I mean, you have to, because people are going to get pregnant.
Right.
So,
And by the way, let's not forget, in terms of evolution, is that people in the past did not get pregnant to have children. They had sex because they wanted to have an orgasm and enjoy it. That's it.
And also, they did not have good birth control.
No, of course not. But I'm saying though, evolution doesn't.
Well,
there was nothing that said made us want to have children. It made us want to have sex, and that goes for all of us, you, me, and everybody else.
As I used to tell all my students, and now they say you get fired for this. Well, I still say it, but I always at one point in the year when I felt comfortable with them, I would say something like this. I said, "Look, I know you're not going to believe me. I know you're not going to care, but I just want to tell you something." I said, "I would suggest to you that the next time you are a male and you have sex with a female, if you can't see that person being the mother of your child, maybe you shouldn't be having sex with that person."
And you're right. You're absolutely right. But that is not something that goes through most people's mind.
It's not going to happen. No, I know. But it was really, I mean, that's the idea.
And the problem is, too, is that, the religious nuts, they're the ones who say, God put us on the earth to have children. And they're automatically, it goes against the laws of evolution because it's basically saying you had sex to have a family.
Well, think about it.
Ridiculous.
If you didn't have, whether it's a God order, which of course I don't believe in, or a biological imperative, when the first people came out of the caves or down from the trees or up from the sea, wherever the first peoples came from, they had to populate because to survive. You couldn't, you needed to spread
right, but
out.
it wasn't a difficulty because the sex drive is so strong.
Well, that's why. I mean, that's why
you can't avoid it.
I think that's why the sex drive is so strong. I think it was a biological.
The DNA molecule wants to get from one generation to the next. That's how it's going to live. It can't survive as a being, so it has to.
Now, what you do have now, of course, is fairly adequate birth control, but then you have organizations that are against it. You have parents who are debating at what age, should I, look, I've been around kids, 34 years of my life, and then. Plus the time I was around them, ain't nobody thinking logically about sex when you're a teenager. Not too many people are doing it. So, and Kim says, "What God?" And there you are. But anyway, looks like that clock is winding down. So I'm going to go with this and just say 3 things. Go see Superman. It'll put in perspective what you see. 1. Second thing, when you get really depressed, think about what does that booing of Donald Trump mean at WWE. And third, do this. Resist, recharge, and repeat. That's my new mantra. Resist, recharge, and repeat. And don't forget to recharge. You can't do it 24 hours.
Was that 3?
Yep.
All right.
I said resist and recharge. I'll go backwards. See Superman, and I don't know what else. Maybe it's whether it's political, 3 or 5 or whatever. But anyway, I'm done.
The greatest pleasure I can give, or optimism is, maybe since we got on this topic, is just have as many orgasms as possible. Just don't have children, and that's it.
And don't have orgasms with Brian. Just don't do it. I know many people have, and it's just a bad experience.
Okay. We'll talk about this next time. I don't want to get into something at 9:04.
Hi, man.
This sort of conversations, and that's my fault this time.
Thank you, everyone, for tuned in live, and appreciate anyone who watches it later. And we are, as Brian says, he is the mantra of this, but we are all in this together. We really are.
All right. Thus we done, everybody.